It was a colossal undertaking. We literally took over the entire Fairleigh Popper district, brought in, burned out helicopters and buses, tanks and other military equipment, which is an entire abandoned military outpost in the middle of town right now. We are having something so colossal happen, which is AI.
Yeah.
It's going to affect every aspect of film. This is a tremendous tool. The camera in the phone in your pocket is better than any digital camera 12 or 15 years ago. I was hired by Warner Brothers to produce a show called Past Life I wanted to do in Atlanta. We had just passed some new incentives. I had the hardest time. They just didn't trust the incentives yet. Past Life lasted 10 episodes and Vampire Diaries lasted forever. That was a great start for Atlanta to have those series. The number one thing in a film business is being a good communicator. I'd rather have an A-plus communicator with a B-plus skill than have that the other way around.
We have Tom Luse here in our studio, and very excited to meet you, Tom. I saw you a couple of weeks ago on a big stage at Shadowbox, and you were so entertaining. And then I heard you were from Chamblee. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. We know you're born in DeKalb, so just kind of tell us about your life.
I actually wasn't born in DeKalb County,
Okay.
But I did go to high school at Chamblee High School in DeKalb County, which is now a very good school.
Yep.
Which back then wasn't such a good school, but
That was fairly new.
it was. Chamblee was old when I went to it, and I'm old now, so it's an old school that has been remodeled several times, but it was a great experience going to Chamblee, and then I went to Georgia State University for my
Okay.
undergraduate and graduate degrees. I did a movie at Georgia State as my master's thesis.
Oh, cool.
And that was my entree into the film business.
So I was wondering, what got you, so that was your intro into the film business, but what got you interested in actually studying this in undergrad and grad? And also, I'm a graduate of Georgia State Global Hospitality Program a few years ago, but how did you get interested in wanting to do your thesis on this?
I actually started off working with special needs children.
Okay.
And I have an undergraduate degree in psychology, and I was working on my master's degree. And there was a wonderful woman, Kay Beck, at Georgia State, a Druid Hills resident in DeKalb County, and she told me about a program she was developing in film. I had my experience with film had been primarily just I worked at a movie theater when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved movies. I was involved with the Georgia State's Lyceum program at the time, which is bringing independent and foreign films to Georgia State students at their own little theater.
Okay.
So I was interested in movies, but I never really thought about making movies. But I talked to Kay. I joined that program. I changed master's degree programs and ended up making a movie at Georgia State. They helped me with some grant money, and that movie won a couple awards and an AFI directing internship, and that got me started in the film business.
So you switched from, I was going to try to tie in psychology to film, but so you went from psychology, what'd you get your master's in?
I got my master's actually in urban studies. They didn't have a film program at that time. I think I might be the first person to make a movie for their master's degree at Georgia State, and maybe in Georgia, I don't know.
Wow, that would be very cool to find out.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be able to say I don't know for sure.
Right.
That
right.
way I can think that I did. If I
Do we
find
have
out.
like a Georgia Movie Hall of Fame or anything like that?
There have been some, the Atlanta Film Festival, which is a fantastic festival here in Atlanta, does give image awards every year for people that have either highly influenced the business, helped the industry, or for filmmakers in the industry themselves. And so that's probably the equivalent to the Georgia Hall of Fame at this time. So anyway, I got an AFI director's internship. I went to LA, did that internship, found that I didn't love LA. and I came back to Georgia, and I worked my way up. Doing all the various crew jobs. I was a grip. I was in the art department for a while, and then I joined the location department, kind of accidentally, and that led me to producing commercials, and then I eventually joined the Directors Guild as a production manager on a movie called Glory, which was shot down in McDonough and then in Savannah, back in Jekyll Island, back in the late 80s. And
but I didn't know that movie was that old.
yeah, we shot that in 1988.
Wow.
And it was a truly amazing learning experience, trial by fire. And so after that, I kind of fell forward, started production managing and then producing TV movies, movies themselves, TV shows. And I went back, and unlike a lot of people, I was lucky enough to be able to go back and forth between TV and feature films, and that really kind of helped my career quite a bit.
So what was your first big produced movie and first big TV? Like, what would you think?
Well, as far as producing, I would say probably that's a great question. Because so many of the movies I did, like Drumline and Remember the Titans, I was the production manager on.
Okay.
Which is a great position and a very responsible position. But then I transferred, I moved forward into producing on movies like Fluke and Jeepers Creepers 2. Did a lot of those movies as producer. And on TV, I would think Everwood, which was a show I did out in Utah, was a show that was very influential. It had starred Treat Williams and Chris Pratt and a lot of really nice actors, and that got me going with Warner Brothers, who became somebody I worked with quite a bit.
So, would you say you prefer TV or movie?
It depends.
Okay.
I always thought that I would stick in movies because I have a limited attention span, and movies have a beginning, middle, and end of somewhere between 6 months and a year. And so I would be able to move on to other projects. But there are some aspects of TV, certainly being a family man, having TV allows a little bit more stability. Because I've ended up traveling the world as a producer, and certainly like with The Walking Dead, which I did for 9 years plus, that provided great stability and helped me get my kids through college.
So what did you do with The Walking Dead?
I was a producer first, and then I was an executive producer. And as an executive producer, I kind of oversaw all production and also worked with the showrunner to make sure that we could accomplish the show, which was incredibly ambitious. And we also did 16 episodes a year, which is a lot.
Right.
So it was a full-time job, just keeping that show, moving forward in a way that not only got it done, but got it done and kept the audience enthralled. And it was a very interesting experience.
And that show, it was one of those I did not want to watch, and I was extremely late watching it. Then all of a sudden, when we watched it, I was like, okay, I'm glued. The only thing I didn't like about the show is I don't like shows to end, but that show just never had an end. It just kept going and going, and there was no end in sight. And then they had all the spin-offs. So what would you say, tourism-wise, that show did? It wasn't that much in DeKalb, but what did it do for tourism in Georgia?
So we shot the first season in Atlanta, and our primary location is now, I think, that new West Side Park built around the quarry over there. That's the quarry we used for season 1 on The Walking Dead. Certainly the downtown locations, where we literally took over the entire Fairleigh Poplar district. We closed off 9 blocks.
And that was wild when you saw how bad Atlanta looked in the movie, in the TV.
We our art team was amazing. We brought in everything from burned out helicopters and buses to tanks and other military equipment. We established an entire kind of abandoned military outpost in the middle of town right next to the federal court.
Yeah.
And that was all done after 7 o'clock on Friday night. We started shooting Saturday morning. We shot Sunday, and then Monday morning we had to have it all put back. It was a colossal undertaking. And that show, that episode, the first episode of The Walking Dead, was directed and written by the great Frank Darabont, who you probably know from Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
It was a Stephen King adaptation that he wrote, and then he directed that movie. And he's one of the great geniuses in our business. So what a great start to have Frank, who was also involved for the first couple of years in the show, doing the show. And he was like a five-tool guy. He could do everything. He was a great writer. He was a great director. He's a great producer. He was a phenomenal editor. He could just do everything well. And so that was an exciting time.
So I would say I'm trying to think, in Georgia, In the Heat of the Night, going way back, was a huge hit for the state of Georgia, and then wasn't Dukes of Hazzard
Right.
here,
Both of those.
and then we went into Vampire Diaries,
right?
and then Walking Dead. So,
Yeah, it was funny. On Vampire Diaries, I was hired by Warner Brothers, who did Vampire Diaries, to produce a show called Past Life, which I wanted to do in Atlanta. We had just passed the new incentives,
oh,
and I had the hardest time talking Warner Brothers into it. They just didn't trust the incentives yet. They didn't. And finally I showed them. I did the budgets, I did all the projections. And they liked it so much, what I did, that they brought Vampire Diaries in at the same time as Past Life. And that, of course, Past Life lasted 10 episodes, and Vampire Diaries lasted forever.
Yeah.
So that was a great start for Atlanta to have those series like that coming in at that time.
So you also, we were talking before the show started, you did a show using Druid's High School, Remember the Titans?
Right. I was production manager on a movie called Remember the Titans, and we shot all over DeKalb County, including Druid Hills High School was the high school for the Titans. And we shot inside and outside of that school. The principal there, John Wallace, was a wonderful man, and worked hard not only to make sure that we didn't disrupt the students, but also he worked hard to make sure his students could see what we were doing, and that ended up being a very good experience. We also trained our football field at the DeKalb Memorial Stadium for Remember the Titans. We had the trained football teams there. I don't know what it's called now. It's the one over near Perimeter College.
Oh, okay, Hofford Football Stadium.
Maybe it's called that now.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's over there by Piedmont Tech and
Yes.
off Memorial Drive and Georgia State Community College.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So that's very cool. So that's very much a homegrown DeKalb movie,
Right.
and set. So, I mean, you got to think that had to do some tremendous things for tourism, tremendous things for the kids,
Right.
potentially get into film tourism, great opportunities there. Do you think film tourism is going to continue to grow? Have we plateaued? I mean, what's your opinion?
It all depends on the show. For
Right.
example, on The Walking Dead, first season we shot in Atlanta, but season 2 we looked all over for a location, a farmhouse, which was relatively close to Sonoy. We ended up finding one there. And then we ended up basing the show at a little studio in that area. And we ended up buying that studio and AMC. And we also shot extensively in this little town called Sonoy. And to this day, I believe they still have a Walking Dead shop on Main Street.
Oh, I bet.
we shot we created this town called Alexandria, which was basically a development right next to Sonoy, and I would imagine that's still a very popular place for people to see. And to so I think that for Sonoy, tourism not only was a place bringing people in, but it also literally put them on the map. It was a very sleepy town when we started there. So, and film tourism, I think, can have a huge effect.
Well, if we look back at what's the city that had
Juliet, Fried Green
Vampire
Tomatoes.
Diaries? I never thought wasn't Fried Green Tomatoes in Alabama.
Fried Green Tomatoes was not in Alabama. Fried Green Tomatoes was shot in Georgia.
Wow, I got to tell my wife that because we used to go to the restaurant in Is it Irondale? Was what it's supposed to be?
The restaurant, there was a restaurant called the Whistle Stop Cafe, literally in Juliet, Georgia.
Wow. So Juliet, Georgia is the home of...
Well, it's one of the homes, yes. Yeah, I mean, there are other places that shot. I didn't work on that movie, but I had friends that
I still
did.
find that interesting.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of great movies shot in Georgia, and I think that tourism will continue to thrive, but it depends on, does that movie resonate and with a location.
Right.
So that's really kind of the key to all that, Certainly, there's been a lot of success that way. And, we also shot, a movie called Drumline here in Georgia now. Most of our locations were located over at Clark College in Atlanta, but we used Southwest DeKalb's band as the basis for our band for that movie. So and those kids had a tremendous experience being involved with that movie. So sometimes it's tourism, sometimes it is in other ways it's impactful, the movie business on a community like that movie was very impactful on the Southwest DeKalb high school community.
So Drumline, is that considered a documentary movie or?
No, it's a feature film.
Feature film, okay.
Yeah, it was a major feature film. It was a success. Did quite a good business, and it's also one of those movies that people still talk about today, in terms of featuring. It was the first movie to really dig into the culture around HBCU football and certainly music. And so
that's important right now, besides the fact that when you did it, because we just, last Tuesday, became the home for HBCU Football Classic, which includes 2 HBCU schools football team, but 2 of giant bands. So the one October the 4th will have FAMU football and marching band, and Mississippi Valley football marching band cheerleaders, both golf clubs. So it's going to have just several hundred band members in DeKalb County for a couple days in October.
It's huge. We had, I think, 6 or 8 marching bands for our Battle of the Bands we had at the Georgia Dome. And it was several thousand band members alone that we had to feed. It was crazy.
And what year did you do this?
I don't know. It was back there in the misty past.
Oh, I get it.
No, let me drink a little water.
Sure.
Right. Don't ask me any direct questions. I don't have a memory for that anymore.
That's like me. I don't either.
Edit that out.
Yeah.
Drink a little bit more water.
I'm very excited to watch Drumline and see if we can apply this HBU event.
Yeah, don't got to edit out if it's a documentary too, because people that like Drumline will not like that question.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, you answered it perfectly because it's not a documentary.
Yeah,
you did good.
So go ahead and ask me a question again, and I'll start back.
Now I'm trying to think of what. So we can get off Drumline. Okay, you've had many years doing this. You've done all forms of of editing and producing and managing. What do you think is some great advice for the future kids wanting to get into the film industry?
Well, we stand at a place now, right now, where I think we are having something so colossal happen, which is AI. It's going to affect every aspect of film. Now, AI is a tool. It's not going to. It's right now. It's kind of like a really smart 5-year-old with ADD and a good memory. It's really not going to be able to tell a great story. It can tell a vignette. It can have a little cool picture, but it can't tell a story. But as a tool to help people tell stories, it's amazing already. And as a way to pre-visualize movies, to pre-visual and to pre-hear movies even, to think about the sound, which is we all talk about movies, we see them because that's our main sense, but sound is at least as important in a movie
Definitely.
as picture. So to be able to pre-build the movie, to be able to look at things, to think it out in a way with actual visual feedback, this is a tremendous tool for filmmakers. And so my advice to young people today is embrace AI. Don't embrace it to try to think it's going to make movies for you, but it certainly is a way that you will impact movies, and you can make your movie better using AI. So that's just learn it. Is what I'm saying. There's a lot of different programs and that exist already that are readily available and are free, like ChatGPT, like Gemini on Google, that are pretty. And the Google Gemini program is pretty good for visuals. So start there. There's things I use that are beyond that, but that's something I really think. And the other thing is the camera in the phone in your pocket is better than any digital camera that existed 12 or 15 years ago.
That's a good point.
You have the technology in hand to make movies. But always think about sound. If you're going to make a movie, make sure you're taking care of your sound. But the technology is simpler and simpler, so you should be learning how to edit just using your phone. There's editors in your phone that work perfectly fine. There are ways to add sound, both externally and internally, by taking it in as you record. Think about, as a young filmmaker, if you're really thinking about it, you should be putting things together now just to see how that is. There are people making things called verticals, which are using the format of the frame is inverted. We usually, in the movie business, show our movies in what we call 185, which means it's about basically 2.5 times wider than it is tall. But verticals invert that and make it the other way around, about 2.5 times.
And they're literally
tall.
shot with like an iPhone or whatever.
Right. They're shot with They could be shot with an iPhone, certainly. It depends on the way you make it. But they're designed to be seen on your phone in a vertical way. Now,
My wife gets stuck on these things.
and it's hilarious because the human eye, the reason we shoot in 185 is because it is an incredibly close representation of how our eyes see. Our eyes don't see vertically, and that's because we don't have one eye on our forehead and one eye in our nose.
Right, okay.
Our eyes are wide, but verticals, because they're readily available, they're quick. A lot of people right now are paying attention to this, and a lot of big studios are paying attention to this. There are lots and lots of opportunities between the ability for equipment being more transparent and use of software that you can create new worlds.
So what would you suggest if you were a high schooler high school student and you wanted to get a degree because you wanted to get in film. And we talked a lot of technology and music and all. What would you think is the career path with a degree? Or is that important?
Well, as a movie producer, I used to say, it doesn't matter whether I went to Stanford or San Quentin for my, because we don't look at on resumes to see where we went to college.
Okay.
That's not important to us. As it's the experience and the references that you have. In other words, what have you done, and is there somebody I can pick up the phone and talk to about that to make sure a good fit for our team? Each movie, when you watch a movie, all those credits at the end of the movie, they're for us in the film business. They're not for outsiders.
Yeah, because we don't care about that when we're watching the end of the show.
And nor should you, because that everybody on movies basically is a freelancer. We go from project to project. I've worked for MGM. I've worked for Warner Brothers. I've worked for ABC. I've worked for you name it. I've worked for it. I recently set up new shows for a program, a platform called MGM Plus, where we set up new shows for them. So I've worked all over the world. I've worked on different things. But what we look for is for people that have the talent, either in front of the camera, behind the camera, to create the world we're trying to create.
So you need to try to get out there, get a degree, and then try to do stuff while you're doing that.
Degrees are important for a couple of reasons. One is access to tools.
Right.
Look for, if you're really into the physical aspect of making movies, look for a place where they have tools that you can use, and people, most importantly, that know how to teach you to use those tools.
Right.
That combination is great. So there are lots of universities that cater to that. I would look that way. Also, knowing how to communicate effectively, knowing how to write.
Okay.
I'm not talking about just writing a script. I'm talking about being able to write a effective communication about an issue that we have to resolve to keep the movie from having a problem. Writing out a scenario of how to make this movie in a certain place for a certain reason. Being able to create documents that make people with money feel secure to give you the money to make the movie.
Makes a lot of sense.
A good education is going to help you as a filmmaker be a good communicator. And the number one thing in a film business is being a good communicator. I'd rather have an A-plus communicator with a B-plus skill than have that the other way around.
Okay, that's great. No, that's interesting to hear.
Because we have 120 people that have to work perfectly together to bring everything onto the set and have it ready when we call rolling. Everything has to be perfect. The prop master has to have his job and make sure that the props are there. The wardrobe has to match the day before. The hair and the makeup has to also be perfect. The lighting has to be done just right. And all those elements and so many more have to be together for us to be able to roll the camera. So having people that know how to communicate extremely well together to make sure they're solving those problems for their department, and having people on the set that can help them solve those problems with the other departments is what makes it all go.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, with our podcast show, Monica, I know you were in my class, but your degree was in what at Georgia State?
Marketing.
Okay, you were marketing, and then you did a certificate in hospitality.
Yeah, hospitality administration.
So she's now our podcast producer.
Cool.
So, I mean, you went and did, from what I don't think you'd done a podcast before us, did you?
No, this is my first, producing
Oh, cool.
job.
So
I've ever done.
she was my student and sent a thing to me just as a professor saying, anybody interested in digital? And I'm like, well, I am. And then you was here about a month, and I used to do a TV show in Indiana 20-some minute PBS show every month, and she said, I can do a podcast.
Well, that's the key to it is Jimmy Cagney is a very famous actor. You probably never heard of him. You probably have heard of him. He was. This is a long time ago, and people. His advice was basically told the story about the film business. He said, they asked me if I could ride a horse to do this movie, and to do a Western, and he said, absolutely, I'm a great horseback rider. And he went out that night,
Learned how to
and
ride.
got on a horse and fell several times. Really came in black and blue the next day, but at least could stay on a horse. And so the secret of success in the film business is saying yes, I can do that. And your producer here said, yes, I can do a podcast. Yes, I can build a bus and make it be a great mobile podcast center and interview center for you. Saying yes and then figuring it out. And that's truly what makes a good producer, is being that, and also seeing the big picture. We have like I described earlier, there are all these different jobs. All these people have to do all these jobs perfectly to make the movie work.
Right.
Well, you have to have somebody there to go, if we keep going this way, we're not going to get this next big thing done. So let's try to move away from this into that. Let's make sure that I have all the elements together and nothing is forgotten. So when we take this movie and put it all together at the end, everything's there. You have to have somebody that kind of keeps the big picture in their head of how to do things. So that's what producing truly is. But also that ability to say, yes, I can solve that problem. And it's not BS. You're actually know in your head that you can do it, even though you haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Definitely.
So that was James Cagney?
James Cagney.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have it right here if you want to.
Yeah, I was thinking of
Yeah.
Jimmy, and then I go, okay, know exactly who you're talking about now.
Yeah. He's one of our great actors.
Have you met him?
No, he unfortunately passed before I got a chance to meet him. But he's he's one of the people that just was not afraid of pushing himself to. He said he could dance. He started Yankee Doodle Dandy as he was a vaudeville performer. He could just kind of willed his way into everything. He's a great American character.
So with your career, who would you say is the biggest or the coolest star you've met doing things, whether you're working with them or just met?
That's a really hard question.
Yeah, because you probably met everybody.
I never did a movie with him, but back when I was young and starting out, I used to do these projects as an assistant cameraman for a company called Freewheeling Films. And we used to go up to Road Atlanta and shoot movies of the road races up there. And the person we were focused on was Paul Newman.
Oh, okay.
And Paul Newman was not just a great actor, he was also an incredible race car driver.
Okay.
His wife, Joan Woodward, is here from Georgia. But I got to know him from doing those races for a couple of years up there. And he was pretty cool. I mean, I like people that are real. And we would, after we'd race, he had a trailer that we would go up to after the race was over, and he'd have literally a stack of Budweiser, and we'd all sit down, and Budweiser is one of his sponsors, and we'd all have a beer with him. He was just that guy.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He was a really wonderful guy, but there's been so many actors I could go on about, and I don't want to single out one because there's another.
Right.
I've been incredibly fortunate. I remember Sally Fields. We were doing a movie called Not Without My Daughter, which I think we shot in DeKalb County,
that's cool.
up on the north side.
I thought you were going to say Smokey and the Bandit, but
No. I remember she was so happy. They had been shooting in the Middle East, where the movie takes place, and she came over and she, I was introduced to her. We were shooting the last part of the movie in Georgia, and she said, "Is there anything you need?" And she said, "I could really use a cell phone. I don't have." This is back in the day, and she said, "I need a cell phone." And I said, "Okay," and I knew one of the vendors for cell phones, and I got that. That took me maybe 30 or 40 minutes to get the cell phone, and I walked over to her and I handed her the cell phone, and she just looked at me, and she said, where we've been filming, if I asked for an orange, it would have taken 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
The fact that you could get this here in 30 minutes is just, you have no idea how lucky we are to be in this country and to be able to just do something like that so quickly.
Well, I would think part of that is this country, and part of that is just you taking initiative and getting it.
I love that. That's very nice of you to say,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take that. But
It is, because even if we have the ability in this country to do that, you have to take that initiative to get her
that's
that
part
phone.
of producing. You don't always have to have the answer, but you have to know how to get the answer quickly and effectively, or else it slows down the process.
We know Ritz-Carlton came up with a concept where if you ask a question and it's simple, then it's immediate. But if it's impossible, it'll take a couple minutes.
Yeah.
It's like the Ritz-Carlton concept of it.
That's kind of like part of producing is about. You just want to be able to make sure. Also, you don't want to have that in your head. There are more important things to have in your head than, frankly, a cell phone. But you want to get that solved as quickly as possible. It's important that you follow up on things you say you're going to do.
Definitely.
So
in all parts, in all business.
In everything.
Everything you do.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of some of the experience with actors. But for me too, I've worked with Francis Coppola, and being able to work with him as a producer, director, writer. Francis is, the Godfather.
Yeah, definitely know him.
He, that to me, working with a great talent behind the camera, is actually sometimes more exciting than working with a great talent in front of the camera for me, just because those are the people. I met Robert Altman, who's another great director. I've worked with many great directors and great writers, and working with those people, that's so exciting, for me too. That's the great thing about the film business. It's not just the talent in front of the camera that you all see, but there's a whole world behind the camera of people that are legendary in our business, that are, not known to the public, but to us are godlike, So it's a great business that way.
That's great. Do you have any great stories you want to close with, or anything you want to get on the show, talk about, get out there?
No, I don't. I think we've done a really nice job of kind of painting the picture. I will say, I currently live in DeKalb County.
Like that.
And I have, being part of the Atlanta film community has been fantastic. And the fact that I get to, I've had to travel quite a bit, but for the last several years I've been based here, and it's been fantastic, and I've really enjoyed being here.
Well, Tom, I really want to thank you for being on the show. Appreciate you taking the time and sharing all your experiences and stories and all. And I'd like to have you back sometime.
Thank you very much.
Just one more question, James. Can you ask Tom his go-to attraction?
Let me think about that for a minute, because I hadn't really thought.
So, like, if you have family coming in, and where would you want to take them to see DeKalb, or to eat in DeKalb, or experience DeKalb?
For being in DeKalb County, my favorite restaurant in Atlanta is a place called the Kimball House, which is in Decatur.
Yes.
It's a fantastic place. I highly recommend the oysters, if you can get in. It's a great place. There's so many places. I use on a regular basis the path, where I ride my bike
Okay.
out towards Stone Mountain, and
Yeah.
that's a tremendous resource. And the fact that that Stone Mountain path is going to tie into the Beltline,
Right.
it's going to revolutionize a bike transit in this city on a way that I don't think people quite realize. So DeKalb was a pioneer too with biking, which I think is
Didn't know
something
that.
very, as far as that path goes, that was the main bike path in Atlanta for many years until the Beltline.
Wow.
So yeah, there's so many great things about DeKalb County that I love, but those are just a few.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. Thank you.